Welcome back to Gold Derby. I'm Christopher Rosen. I'm joined by Joyce and Joyce. We're here for a return edition of Oscars Playback. And to
Are
quote
we
the great,
back?
we're back. To quote the great host, Whoopi Goldberg, did you miss me? I think that's what she says right when she walks out.
Yeah. I think like one person missed us.
We got one tweet. But we're so excited to be doing this again. We
I know,
not
because it's June, so
June.
we're back.
We're back, and we said June. We're doing it in June. We're looking at the 68th annual Academy Awards, Joyce, the 1996 Oscars, to celebrate the year in film of 1995. What a time!
Yeah, I normally don't revisit a lot of the clips from this year, so it was a journey watching all of them last night.
So I'll say at the top, it's a cursed ceremony, I would say, for a lot of reasons. But one of the things is, I think we think about the years of Oscars, and I was looking at this, like we've done the 90, 90, the 69th Oscars, I think we already did. That was English Patient. 70th was Titanic. You go even before this was Forrest Gump and Pulp Fiction. Just incredible, iconic movie years, right? Like some of the greatest movies ever. And then you think of 95, 96, and it's like Apollo 13 and Braveheart, shrug. But when I was going through our favorite page in Wikipedia, the TK year in film, so 1995 in film, boy, I love so many movies from this year. It is.
I have so many favorite films from this year. Like they were not nominated for the Oscar.
No, and I was saying to you when I was looking at this last week, I could come up with an alternate of like 12 movies probably that I would say should be nominated for Best Picture instead of what we got, because it's just such a great year. And was reading in our Inside Oscar 2, Joyce, I'll use one of your terms. Hollywood was very pressed about this year. They were not feeling 95 in film, but I would say 95 in film is amazing and it really holds up. And a lot of these movies are, while not Oscar movies, were incredibly good movies. So
they were pressed because a lot of films were not making bank at the box office. This was back when box office was huge, very important as part of the Oscar conversation.
Right. They cited in the book, one of the weekends they cited was October 13th, which
and that was also a Friday the 13th.
A Friday the 13th, where the movies released that day were Jade, the David Caruso in Jade from 40-Year-Old Virgin, love it, with a terrible movie. The Scarlet Letter, another terrible movie. And then previous weekend was like Strange Days, To Die For, and Kicking and Screaming. Now I would say that's an outrageous. All those movies came out on the same day. Kicking and Screaming, Noah Baumbach, To Die For, and Strange Days, which I really, really like, and is impossible.
To Die For is a classic.
To Die For is a classic. Kicking and Screaming is great. It totally holds up. And Strange Days is like impossible to find. I feel like it's not one that you could just easily get on physical media for whatever reason, but great Catherine Bigelow movie. Ralph Fiennes, just amazing dirtbag performance. Love Angela Bassett in it. Screenplay from Jim Cameron, just the best. That movie is really quite good. And again, just like it was a flop because it was a flop, and everybody's just like, movies suck now. But no, these movies rule. Great year. The top movie at the box office choice was Die Hard with a Vengeance, which I've seen about 30,000 times.
Of course you have.
The best Die Hard, probably. Pairing Bruce Willis and Samuel L. Jackson off Pulp Fiction. Incredible flex. Love it so much. Toy Story was number 2. A big year for animation, as we'll see during the ceremony.
First Toy Story.
The first Toy Story. Just a completely thing that no one had seen before. Just right out of the box. Like, here's a new thing. Computer animation like this on a large scale.
So innovative. They had to give John Lasseter a special Oscar.
Right. Rather than just nominate the movie for Best Picture, which I think they should have done based on the list. Apollo 13, big Ron Howard movie. Tom Hanks off of Forrest Gump before Saving Private Ryan. Just getting in that pocket of, I am Tom Hanks and I'm releasing a summer movie for adults that will make a ton of money. The first new James Bond, GoldenEye with Pierce Brosnan. With Pierce Brosnan. Love that movie. Love the Nintendo 64 game even more, Joyce.
That was good. I had that too.
Great game. We played it so much in college. That was a number 4 movie. Pocahontas was 5. Batman Forever, which is a bad movie, but left us with Tommy Lee Jones, I believe, telling Jim Carrey, I do not sanction your buffoonery on the set, because he hated Jim Carrey so much.
And also more Nicole Kidman. Big year for Nicole Kidman in 95.
Big year for Nicole Kidman.
And this movie somehow got nominated for cinematography.
Just an unbelievable flex. I don't even understand it. And even now, watching the ceremony last night, I thought it was a mistake. And we'll get to it when we do the introductions. But another year, we've done now, I don't know how many of these we've done, but I feel like at least 2 or 3 times they've said, Chris O'Donnell, Robin from Batman. That's what they call, like,
yeah.
he just
well, with this one, they got it correct, because last time they mistakenly called him Batman.
7, another amazing movie. David Fincher, Ascendant, was the 7th highest grossing movie of the year. Casper, the Friendly Ghost. Waterworld, which is a flop, but 9th grossing movie. And then I think one of your faves, Jumanji.
I love Jumanji, and I love it so much that I can't bring myself to watch the new Jumanji.
They're bad.
Yeah, like I just can't do it. But I love OG Jumanji. I made my mom take me to see it on Christmas Day, and it was like snowing, and I was like, we have to go see it. I think it came out like 10 days before, and I don't know why. I just chose like Christmas.
I mean, it's a great.
It's a Christmas movie. Yeah, it is.
So all these great movies,
yeah.
Joyce. And the only one of these to get nominated for Best Picture was Apollo 13. And like I said, I came up with like, I just have a list of movies that I just loved here that we didn't even mention, but I mean, we'll do these, I guess, when we do Best Picture, but just so many movies. This is the same year. I'll just preview. You could be surprised. I love these: Casino, Heat, The Usual Suspects, Get Shorty. Just incredible movies. I recently rewatched Get Shorty. It is,
of course you did.
Unparalleled how good it's so good. It's just amazingly good. Not nominated for anything. Just a joke. The whole thing is, I feel like, just a mess.
So some of mine, I have those too, but some of my faves are Billy Madison. I would have nominated for Best Picture. A lot of these I would have nominated, but I just love them from 95. Heavyweights.
Good one.
Tommy Boy.
Sure. Tommy
While
Boy
You're
actually.
Sleeping, my fave rom-com.
Which one? Oh, While You're Sleeping. Great movie.
While You're Sleeping. Yeah.
I'll tell you this about Tommy Boy. It will show up later in my alternate picks in a certain category.
Of course. And the other Sandra Bullock movie, The Net.
Love The Net.
Yeah.
There's an absolutely devastatingly mean-spirited David Spade joke from Hollywood Men on SNL where he was like, I'm not even gonna, it's just very bad. It was about I'll just say it's about The Net and Babe, the Pig in the City. And he put those two together. And it's incredibly mean-spirited, but I remember it. It's like burned into my brain from that year at SNL when he was doing Hollywood Minute. We didn't even. I'll give you another one. Clueless.
I love Clueless. My dad like took me to see Clueless because he's like, "You would love this movie." I was 10. And he was like,
great movie.
Like he just took me to see. He also took me to see To Wong Foo, Thanks for Everything, Julie Newmar, because he wanted to see that.
That's funny.
So I saw that. As Babysitter's Club, I'm a huge BSC fan. I devoured those books when I was a kid. And I watched like the series, like that lasts for like 2 seasons. I would borrow them from the library, like the VHS.
That's awesome.
So I was eagerly anticipating this movie. It came out over the summer, so I made my mom take me to go see it. And what else is there?
I'll give you some more. I got a mine I wrote down. This one I didn't see in the theater, but it was definitely a big rewatch on cable. Higher Learning, John Singleton off of Boys in the Hood. Incredibly ridiculous college movie. And I was like, it scared me because I was like, man, is college like this? It's just like,
it scared you.
It's scary. It's like, a bunch of white supremacists and there's like a mass shooting. It's awful, but it really solid. Actually it's like, I rewatched it recently, like within the last like 3 years. It's one of those like follow-up movies off the big movie. So like John Singleton obviously broke out with Boys in the Hood and does this next, I believe. It reminded me a little of like Magnolia off of Boogie Nights, even though that was like 2 and 3 for PTA. But like, just like I did a big movie. Now I'm going to take this huge swing and like try to get every idea I've ever had into a movie. That's what Higher Learning feels like. Another one I loved, The Quick and the Dead.
I watched that like later on cable.
I've seen it so many times. It's so great. Russell, incredible breakout from Russell Crowe. This is a huge year for Sharon Stone because she has this and she's really quite good in Quick and the Dead. I think there was like at the time, like weird, like Sharon Stone sucks kind of vibes when she was trying to do like just different things.
No one took her seriously.
But she's great in the movie. And that's another one I rewatched within like the last year. Great Leo breakout performance. And Gene Hackman This is a major year for Gene Hackman.
And then like Crimson Tide.
Just the Gene Hackman, no one has ever been as angry in anything as Gene Hackman. And he's always just permanently aggrieved. And these are two great aggrieved Gene Hackman performances, I feel like. But Crimson Tide, I love. Like that score, blasting the Hans Zimmer score to this day. Good. Great Denzel performance, incredible supporting cast. Somehow not an Oscar. None of these. I'll give you another one. Kiss of Death. That was another David Caruso movie with Nick Cage, a great Nick Cage, like just eating the scenery performance. Samuel Jackson, another big performance from him off like in the same year. Desperado. Did you like that one?
I've seen it.
Well,
not
I've seen
again.
It so many times. Great movie. Antonio Banderas, just amazing fun. Robert Rodriguez, I would say, had never done anything better than Desperado. And then a favorite of mine, just Empire Records.
I love Empire Records. I watched that a lot as a teenager.
So many times. Great.
As many teenagers did.
Just love it so much. Anthony LaPaglia, giving off great Jake Johnson vibes. I think when I did, I forget which job I was at, but I did like a recast of Empire Records. I'm actually going to look it up right now. And I did have let me see. I'm looking for this because it's like so long. I did this is from 2013.
About 9 years ago.
For Rex Manning Day, which we said was April 8th, I believe. I did a post for Huffington Post, where I used to work. And I recast. Here was the casting I came up with at the time. I don't know if this would hold up, but here we go. Shailene Woodley as Liv Tyler.
Okay.
Jennifer Lawrence.
I understand the choice then.
Jennifer Lawrence is Renee Zellweger. They look exactly alike.
This is a time capsule.
Aubrey Plaza as Robin Tunney, who played Deborah. I had Skylar Astin as Johnny Whitworth's character, AJ.
Sure.
This one is really cursed. Ezra Miller as Lucas, who was played by Rory Cochrane.
Wow.
And I had Adam Driver as Burko, who's Coyote Shivers.
I feel like Adam would do it.
This is 2013. Emery Cohen as Warren.
Oh my gosh.
I'm going to send this to you because the splits are really funny. Kieran Culkin is Eddie.
Kieran.
And then Jake Johnson is Anthony LaPaglia. And I came up with Amanda Setton, who was on Gossip Girl as Jane.
Your favorite show.
Played by Debbie Mazar. I'm sending this. And then who was Rex Manning? Alec Baldwin is Rex Manning. Wow. So like I said, doesn't hold up all together.
Maybe we'll link this in the description.
I'm going to send this to you. Yeah. Look at that. In the HuffPost, we used to have to do like incredibly clickbait headlines. This is what, especially for posts that had no no peg or anything. And so this was, would you see this remake with Jennifer Lawrence? ? Would you? I don't know.
No.
But Empire Records, great movie. And then the last one I wrote down was Rumble in the Bronx, which I really liked.
You would like that. Yeah. It
was great. That was like my first experience like Jackie Chan, obviously, for like a lot of American audiences. I think that was, for sure. Great fun. Just so good.
I also have Mallrats.
Oh, love Mallrats. Didn't see that in the theater. Did see it a million times, including recently. Again, another one I'm going to say holds up better than you think, but not really at all.
It's fine. A lot of things are problematic now, but like if you watch it in a vacuum, like they're still good movies.
Yeah, it's funny. It's the problem with the movies is not actually as an adult in his running towards middle age like Tom Cruise in Top Gun Maverick. It's just not as funny. It's just not as funny. It's not even that it's problematic. It's just like some of the jokes I was just like, I found this funny at 14, 15, 16, but not now, let's say. So
there was also The American President, which was my friend's favorite. It is her favorite movie, and we were roommates our sophomore year in college, so we would like play things and like fall asleep. So we would like play like Friends DVDs and stuff, and then like every now and then she would put on The American President, so I would fall asleep to The American President. But enjoy that movie. Aaron Sorkin wrote it, like pre-West Wing.
It's very funny if you watch it now. It is pre-West Wing Sorkin that is basically like a primer for West Wing. A lot of the characters are exactly the same. Like Michael J. Fox is playing like Josh Lyman, basically.
Yeah. I also wrote down It Takes Two with the Olsen twins.
Oh wow, that one. So I was a little too old for the Olsen twins. Joyce.
Wow. So yeah, so this came out like right after like Full House like went off the air. So it came out in November, and it was like my friend's birthday, and like her birthday party basically was like, we're gonna have lunch and we're gonna see It Takes Two. But for some reason they didn't, her mom didn't buy the tickets beforehand, so they like drove us to the theater and it was sold out, because this is also like peak Olsen twins time.
Yeah.
And so then we had to go to like a third theater. We drove around like looking for, because this is back in 95, like no internet, like no Fandango or anything. So we had to go to a third theater and finally get tickets for It Takes Two.
Wow. Yeah. This is a lot of why don't you just tell me the name of the movie you're looking for? Yeah. Other ones I wrote down, Nick of Time, which is a real-time thriller starring Johnny Depp and Christopher Walken that I really liked. I did not see it in theater, but I remember I definitely rented it, and I love the gimmick. Another thing that I'd like not seen before, right? Like a lot of this year, I feel like is stuff that me as a, let's see, I'm going to figure out math. I'm doing math here, Joyce. So hold on. We might need to take like a 20-minute break.
Wow.
1995.
You were 17.
So as a 17-year-old, I had not seen
going on.
I was 6. I turned 17 in October. And so as a 16-year-old turning 17, a lot of these things I had just not seen before. Like a real-time thriller was like new to me. You know what I mean? Now it's like, that's old hat, it feels like, to do like a real-time thing. An Ace Ventura sequel, which I remember being a little disappointed in, actually. I know like recently, I think people have said like When Nature Calls is the superior movie, but I was a humongous Ace Ventura Pet Detective fan. Another shocker, I'm sure you would know.
I think I prefer the first one. Yeah.
And I think the first one is, I mean, again, wow, I know it hasn't aged well, but at the time, to quote the whole movie, thought it was so funny. And I remember Nature Calls being like, just not as funny to me, but I know people do really like it. We mentioned GoldenEye, great movie. Casino, Money Train, great movie. Go see Money Train. I remember that was like on an SNL sketch as well. Go see Money Train. Great. Jennifer Lopez, Wesley Snipes, and Woody coming back together.
J-Lo's 90s movies are great.
Yep.
Yeah.
And that was a great one, because like going off of White Men Can't Jump, it was like, oh, Money Train. Yeah, this is great. I love these guys. Let's see what they do next. Toy Story we mentioned.
I have Now and Then. Love Now and Then. The
Good
second
movie.
Christina Ricci, Devon Sawa film of the year after Casper.
Right.
I also enjoy Tom and Huck, JTT.
I've never seen that one.
Oh,
I'll tell you which one I enjoyed. Hold on, is this it? No, which one is this? Oh, this is a different one, actually. Never mind. I was going to say, I thought it was something else. So we'll just say Bye Bye Birdie, I thought was something else. Grumpier Old Men, Sudden Death, a Jean-Claude Van Damme movie where they attempt to kill the vice president of the United States at a hockey game. Mm-hmm. That's really when you knew that Die Hard on a blank genre outside of Die Hard was, even with Die Hard, maybe was on the downslope, when it's like, okay, Jean-Claude the Mad Libs, Jean-Claude Van Damme, vice president, not president, and hockey game. Okay, sure. That makes sense. Fun time, though. Waiting to Exhale is a big movie. Four Rooms, which is a terrible movie, was a big deal at the time because it was the four indie filmmakers of great renown coming together for like an omnibus movie. And they were Allison Anders, Alexandra Rockwell, Robert Rodriguez, and Quentin Tarantino. I remember being very hyped for this, obviously, because it's like Quentin off of Pulp Fiction and Robert Rodriguez, who earlier in the year had Desperado and was like buzzy Miramax guy. Allison Anders, who I think did Grace of My Heart. Was that before this or after that? With well, she had done Gaswood Lodging. Grace of My Heart was 96. So she was, I guess, that was like at least aware of that movie coming with Ileana Douglas, which is actually a really good movie. And I didn't really know much about Alexander Rockwell. And I'm like looking him up on Wikipedia right now, and not as notable, let's say, as the others. But wow, Four Rooms is bad. I watched it within the last year, and it's like truly a bad movie.
Wait, so you watched it then?
I watched it then on VHS. Okay. And I remember being like disappointed, but actually being like, the Tarantino segment is cool, right? Because like I love Tarantino. Tarantino's is definitely like the most movie-ish of the movie ones, right? Like it's got him, it's got Bruce Willis, it's got Tim Roth. They're doing like a weird Twilight Zone riff where a guy's got to cut his finger off or whatever. And it's not that good. And the Robert Rodriguez one is like a prelude to Spy Kids, actually, which is kind of fun. because it's like about kids coming in. And the other ones, I think the Allison Anders one is about a coven of witches, which Madonna is one of the witches. But a tough beat. But
I never saw that. I just remember like reading about it, and I just never bothered.
I watched it maybe like 2 years ago, like during the early stage of the pandemic, and like it was streaming, I think, and I was like, this sucks. So apologies to Four Rooms fans out there. 12 Monkeys came out, which we'll talk about. Obviously, Mr. Holland's Opus was a good weepy that I remember seeing a lot of these. I mean, just a great, like an unbelievable year. Oh, you know what's so funny? The movie I was thinking of was Bye Bye Love, and it is in here. So that's funny. Bye Bye Love, another movie I really like. Great big divorced dad energy on that one, literally, because it's all about divorced dads. But good ending song with the Beatles. Very charming performances from Matthew Modine, Paul Reiser. So the new season of Stranger Things, Joyce, is a Bye Bye Love reunion, as it turns out. And
so that's why you love it.
I guess so. And Randy Quaid, Rob Reiner, Janine Garofalo, Amy Brenneman, a huge year for her. She had this in Heat. I mean, just a lot of like
and Casper.
Right. Yes. Other movies, people had huge years. Kevin Spacey had 3 major movies here: Outbreak, Seven, and The Usual Suspects.
Mm-hmm.
Whatever happened to that guy, Joyce? I guess we'll find out when we go through the categories.
Yeah, he's been in the news recently as well. I watched this movie like years later, but I really loved it. Safe, from a great Todd Haynes and Julianne Moore collab.
Yep.
Very intense.
Yeah.
But a great performance from Julianne, and I would probably nominate her for Best Actress.
Yeah.
And that movie has a Joyce too. So
wow.
There's
another one I remember watching a lot was Miami Rhapsody, which is like a Woody Allen ripoff with Mia Farrow and like Sarah Jessica Parker, directed by David Frankel, who obviously did The Devil Wears Prada, and some episodes of Inventing Anna, Joyce, to bring it back to modern times. Last, like 2 more we'll mention, then we could go through these, or maybe one more I'll mention, at least. Before Sunrise came out this year as well. Love that movie. Love the Before movies. Great. Ethan Hawke, Julie Delpy. Definitely did not see that in the theater, but definitely saw it on VHS.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. This is the only one of the trilogy that was not nominated for anything.
Right.
The other 2 were nominated.
And I'll tell you what, when we do the categories, I'll have it in there because it should have been in there. So let's talk about this ceremony, Joyce. So again, Monday, March 25th, 1996. Another Monday was 3 hours and 39 minutes. And 44.8 million viewers watched, down only about 4 million from the previous year, which I would say is actually pretty impressive because the previous year was Forrest Gump, which was one of the biggest movies of all time at the time.
And no one saw movies this year.
And nobody saw movies this year. And none of the Best Picture nominees outside of Apollo 13 really did any box office. Nobody cared about these movies, but still only 4 million people down. So I guess we could want to go through the ceremony of the nominations. How do you want to go?
We could do the ceremony because that's before the categories.
So
the arrivals, obviously, they turned it into this huge like 3-minute orchestral opening. Yes. It's on YouTube.
The red carpet is hosted by Oprah, Joyce.
Yes.
So we start right up. There was a lot of controversy. So they hired. So the previous year was obviously Letterman, Uma Oprah, and Gil Cates. Mm-hmm. He does not return, and neither does Letterman.
Yeah, Gil did not return because of the backlash to Dave.
Yes.
And so I'm out.
So they have Quincy Jones come in to produce. He immediately wants Whoopi Goldberg to return to host. Mm-hmm. And great stuff. During the nominations, things get nominated. It ends up there are again history repeating itself, obviously, and all.
It's not really repeating. It's just the way it's always been.
The way it's always been. Not. I think there was.
Oh, I think I have it bookmarked. Hold on. Inside Oscar too. There's only one Black nominee among like all of the nominees.
Right. I was like, there's not one Black nominee as an acting nominee, and there are
no, but just in all among like I think it was 166. Where did I? 166 nominees, and I just completely lost my place. And yeah, only one of them.
And People magazine of all places decides.
Yes, here I found it. Yeah. People said that it had concluded, quote, an exhaustive 4-month investigation, end quote, to reach the conclusion that, quote, a shocking level of minority exclusion remains, end quote. In addition to the fact that only one African-American had been nominated, Diane Houston, director of the live-action short film nominee Tuesday Morning Ride, only 3.9% of Academy members were Black, 2.3% of the Directors Guild, and 2.6% of the Writers Guild.
So Jesse Jackson came out and said, I'm boycotting the Oscars, basically. And
the protests all around.
Protested about all this. So Whoopi in her monologue comes out, like I said, she says, like, did you miss me? Which is a nice dig at Dave Letterman, because he was such a flop, even though, like we talked about last time we did this, not a flop, great ceremony, really fun. He was very funny as host. And then she goes through, I thought her monologue was really barbed and funny. I think you would now expect this monologue from like a Bill Burr type. Like Whoopi is like like a comedian who is speaking against, like, I'm doing this in air quotes, woke culture, because her thing is I want to say something to all the people who sent me ribbons this year to wear. Whoopi says, you don't ask a Black woman to buy an expensive dress and then cover it with ribbons. And then she talks about all the ribbons that she got, and this is the run of jokes. I got a red ribbon for AIDS awareness, done. A purple ribbon for breast cancer, done. I have a yellow ribbon for the troops in Bosnia, done. I have a green ribbon to free the Chinese dissidents, done. I got a milky white ribbon for mad cow disease, done. I have a rainbow ribbon for gay rights disease, done. I don't even know. I know.
I was like, I don't know what that is.
done again. And then she jokes about Jesse Jackson. I had something I wanted to say to Jesse Jackson right here, but he's not watching, so why bother? That's the joke. And then the crowd erupts in applause. Like, they're vilifying Jesse Jackson for protesting the Oscars, for being completely racially imbalanced.
Yeah.
It's just like, what a time. I can't even, and like, that was like a good ding for her. And the other thing she said, this is the last one, Joyce, did you catch this one? There is somebody I wanted to give a ribbon to who I know is watching, Alec Baldwin. Bravo, baby.
A huge round of applause, because the thing at the time was he had assaulted a paparazzi.
Yes.
As he and Kim Basinger brought their daughter Ireland home, like, from the hospital after she gave birth. Yeah.
So that was great. And so we cheered, Whoopi got cheers for denigrating Jesse Jackson for protesting the Oscars, and cheering Alec Baldwin for committing an alleged assault.
Yeah, that monologue would not fly today.
Probably not. This one actually made me laugh. Again, understand it's probably, she had the actresses, a lot of great roles for women. Sharon Stone played a hooker in Casino, which not really, but sure. Mira Sorvino played a hooker in Mighty Aphrodite, and Elizabeth Shue played a hooker in Leaving Las Vegas, all nominated for Oscars. And Whoopi says, how many times did Charlie Sheen get to vote? But bum. So that's how it starts. I'm trying to think. I guess that's how her monologue starts. We usually go through, Joyce, the red carpet stuff.
Yeah, it started with like a 3-minute like orchestral score, and then like Oprah comes up because she's hosting the red carpet.
It's my favorite night of the year. It's actually really funny to see Oprah as like a Maria Menounos type. It just felt like weird watching it, right? Because it's like Oprah is Oprah.
Mm-hmm. She has this great exchange with Nicole Kidman.
Oh wow, that was so uncomfortable.
It was so like Tom Cruise is like, let's get a move on. We got to get down the carpet, like get to our seats. And Oprah's just trying to talk to Nicole. And then she's just like, you're presenting tonight, right? And Nicole says, yes, I'm presenting Babe, like Best Picture nominee Babe. And Oprah goes, how do you feel about that pig? Nicole says, I love that pig.
Amazing. And Tom is just sitting there chuckling away.
Yeah. It's like, let's go.
This made me laugh. This is literally the first two things I heard watching that Oscars clip. Again, it's on YouTube. Oprah says, it's my favorite night of the year. And then the announcer goes, there's the star of Under Siege, an action director, Steven Seagal.
Steven Seagal back.
Unbelievable. First of all, that's the first star. That's what they lead off with at the Oscars after Oprah at the red carpet. I identifying him as an action director. Joyce, I looked it up. It's on Deadly Ground, 1994 movie. 2 years after, this is the Oscars, is 2 years after that movie came out. It's the only movie Steven Seagal has ever directed, but he's an action director, according to the Oscars. Do they write their own? Does the talent write its own IDs? I guess would be a question.
I think Steven Seagal like had an in somehow with the Oscars, like in this time period, because last time we did this a month ago, I guess now, for the previous year ceremony, he presented Best Visual Effects.
Right.
So he's back again.
And he's here to present, I think, sound in this one.
Yes, he does sound. So I think he just had an in at the Oscars then.
Pretty wild. Other ones I wrote down, Joyce, I think you were texting me some too. Smiling Ed Harris.
Yeah, Smiling Ed Harris nominated for Best Supporting Actor in Apollo 13. One of my faves, From the Bridges of Madison County, Oscar nominee Meryl Streep, period, pause. She's along with her son.
Great. This one I loved. We talked about this because they're always about looks. Stunning actress Sharon Stone.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, the women. Like
always about looks. Here's what I got. Here's what I wrote down. Oprah and Tom and Nicole. I think she leads off with "To Die For." That's what you look like tonight. To Nicole.
Yes. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And
again, Tom is just trying to pull her away.
It's interesting because a lot of so we've watched these a lot, and like the intros are just the announcer and they're cut into pictures. So Oprah was like interspersed with these things and like doing interviews. So she's talking to Diane Wiest about like giving up her throne at the Oscars. Mm-hmm. She's got an interview with Emma Thompson asking about which Oscar she wants more, and Emma Thompson's like, "I want both," which is awesome. Yeah, this is fun. Any other ones you wrote down? I those are the ones I noted.
Well, they end on like Susan Sarandon, but they mistakenly called Tim Robbins her husband. They were never married.
Right. Yeah. Tough beat, but
yeah.
When I was watching her speech, I was like, I'm sad they broke up. I don't know. I even in real
life. I was
very
sad when they broke up. I guess it's like 13 years now.
It's so long ago now, but I'm like, in my mind, they're always together, and they should always be together. They were a really good couple. So I mentioned Oprah, the controversy around the ceremony. A couple other jokes. Again, a lot of I just feel like. I know it's wrong, but I just feel like every year we're doing these, it's like another election. How many times were people running for? How many times was Clinton running for president during these Oscars? It was like
this is March '96. So
like this is it. She calls Pat Buchanan the original Boy in the Hood. It's a good joke. She goes, "A big year for pigs, Babe, and Showgirls," and then follows it up with, "I haven't seen that many Poles mistreated since World War II." Whoopi.
Yeah.
Nice. So that was her opening, and then we go into the show itself. Joyce, Braveheart led the way with 10 nominations, which, based on reading Inside Oscar, was a shock because I don't think anybody liked Braveheart. I guess I have in my mind that people did like it, that it maybe was a hit and that people somewhat liked it, but critics were really mixed on it. The audiences did not care. It was re-released twice before the Oscars.
I know, and no one went out.
Didn't even crack 100 million. It was a movie that was problematic before we knew what the term problematic was used.
And not even like before Mel. Well, it involves Mel. But not before
Mel, but not before. It's before Mel's. Obviously,
it's like self-immolation.
But a lot of the movie. First of all, the movie. It's funny reading Inside Oscar too. It's like all of the stuff that a lot of every issue that has arisen with Mel Gibson in the last 25 years starts like here. It's like the movie is incredibly gratuitously violent to a point of just difficulty, which I think a lot of his movies after this, like Passion of the Christ and Apocalypto, I would say are just over the top as violent. And then Mel himself on the press tour, just incredibly, just saying incredibly problematic things about the gay community.
So I was never like a big like Braveheart. I've only seen it once. Like
me too. I really have not like, that into it.
Yeah, I'm not into it, and I know everyone like quotes the speech, all the time, but like I don't care, whatever. And yeah, I don't really care for it. But yeah, his press tour for this, because there's a very problematic portrayal of a gay character, like effeminate gay, and then toss out the window.
Yeah, it's like really bad. So, like, he went off about it in the press. He went on the offensive, even though he was being criticized.
Yeah, so he was being criticized by like GLAAD and everyone. So then, yeah, in Inside Oscar 2, it says, in his interview with Bruni, Gibson railed against those individuals who, because they urged civility and respect toward other peoples and cultures, were given the pejorative, quote, politically correct, end quote, by conservatives. To the Braveheart director, they were, quote, tantamount to Nazis. What? Are they trying to tell us what to say and think? Fuck them, end quote.
Yikes.
Yeah. And
so
then
who
you
could
were
have
saying
seen who could have
you
seen
didn't
this?
finish the chapter.
No, I didn't finish the chapter, Joyce.
So Braveheart won Best Picture, obviously.
Spoiler alert, it wins Best Picture and Best Director. Wins 5 Oscars.
Yeah. So then this is literally how the chapter ends in Inside Oscar. So he's filming, Mel Gibson goes on to film Conspiracy Theory, and like Joel Silver produced it, and they met with 9 gay and lesbian filmmakers in a seminar organized by GLAAD. So and then the participants felt it was important that Gibson, in the words of filmmaker Ted Sott, quote, see that there's a human face attached to those pejorative statements, end quote. And then Chaz Bono, who was GLAAD's entertainment media director, said the participant, quote, felt we had made a connection with Gibson and were comforted by the notion that the next time he's in the position of representing a gay or lesbian image, he will remember our day together, end quote. And then last graph. But as the advocate put it, quote, the olive branch that most of the participants expected Gibson to extend didn't materialize, end quote. Gibson's camp didn't see a need for a peace offering anyway. His publicist said, quote, Mel Gibson does not have a problem with anyone who is gay. If members of the gay community have a problem with him, that's for them to work out, end quote. And the flag also advised that not too much should be read into Gibson's meeting, quote, Mel is passionate about filmmaking. He's spoken to Harvard about filmmaking. He's spoken to the University of Southern California about filmmaking. Why shouldn't he speak to a group of gay filmmakers, end quote. And that's the chapter.
Wow. So Braveheart.
Yeah.
So that's the tone of this Oscars, basically. Braveheart 10, Apollo 13 had 9 nominations. Other nominees were Babe and Sense and Sensibility with 7 apiece. Il Postino, The Postman, a Miramax stuff it down your throat
Harvey
movie.
at it again.
Harvey at it again with 5. Dead Man Walking, Leaving Las Vegas, Nixon, and Toy Story with 4. Batman Forever, Crimson Tide with 3. 12 Monkeys, A Little Princess, Mighty Aphrodite, Pocahontas, Restoration, Richard III, Sabrina, and The Usual Suspects with 2. And then the wins went to Braveheart 5, Apollo 13, Pocahontas, Restoration, and Usual Suspects, each won 2 as well.
Usual Suspects went 2 for 2.
And so did Restoration.
Mm-hmm.
Pretty wild.
Yeah.
So hang on, let me see here. I mean, so let's start. We could go through the ceremony itself, or do you want to do Best Picture? I have some ceremony thoughts, but we could just start with Best Picture and go down, I guess. So the Best Picture nominees were, just Braveheart, Apollo 13, Il Postino, Sense and Sensibility, and Babe.
I mean, most of these I generally like. I like Babe. I love Sense and Sensibility.
So Sensibility, I think, was like the favorite, right? It seemed like for a lot of the season, people expected it to really.
It was Apollo 13 because it won like a bunch of stuff,
right?
And including the first Screen Actors Guild Award for ensemble, and until Shape of Water, it was the only SAG Ensemble winner to not win Best Picture at the Oscars.
Right.
And yeah, so Sense and Sensibility won the Drama Globe, and this was also the first year of the Critics' Choice Awards. Mm-hmm. Very different Critics' Choice back then. They gave it to Sense and Sensibility, and yeah, Apollo 13 won PGA, DGA, and SAG. But I think I don't think you can talk about Best Picture without talking about Best Director.
Yes.
Because the nominees were Mel Gibson for Braveheart, who won, Chris Noonan for Babe, Tim Robbins, Dead Man Walking, Mike Figgis, Leaving Las Vegas, excuse me, and Michael Radford for Il Postino. So there's 2 directing nominees whose films are not nominated for Best Picture, and 2 Best Picture nominees whose directors are not nominated for Best Director.
And it's strange because okay, so I think Ron Howard should have gotten nominated for Apollo 13. Hot take. Yes. And I think that Ang Lee should have gotten nominated for Sense and Sensibility.
Yes, exactly. I love Sense and Sensibility, and I thought that was such a great adaptation. Everything from Ang Lee's direction to Emma Thompson's screenplay and the performances by Emma and Kate Winslet, just so good. And then like if you read like Inside Oscar too, like Jesse Jackson, part of his like process is like, you know, Ang Lee, like
right,
he wasn't nominated.
right.
Like,
And it's
like,
funny because
like majority white. So
and it's funny to me too, because like Ang Lee later wins directing Oscars and not picture, obviously, right? But it's just like here he could have really easily won Best Director. I don't understand how he wasn't nominated. And then the other thing that's funny is the two other Best Director nominees here, I would have actually definitely put their pictures in Best Picture. Tim Robbins for Dead Man Walking and Mike Figgis for Leaving Las Vegas. Those should have been Best Picture nominees. So basically, if I was redoing this, if we were doing 5 and 5 and it had to be like this kind of mix, I would say Tim Robbins, Mike Figgis, Ang Lee, Ron Howard, and then Chris Noonan for Babe, no Mel Gibson, who wins, and no Michael Radford for Il Postino. And then for Best Picture, I would say Apollo 13, Babe, Sense Sensibility, Leaving Las Vegas, and Dead Man Walking. Also no Braveheart for Best Picture.
Yeah, it's still like so wild that Braveheart won, especially in context when you realize like no one actually loved it.
That's the thing. I actually, maybe you, because you finished the book, Joy. You finished the
chapter.
So
did you get to the chapter of like the reactions?
Yes. How did it win? I don't even understand. Nobody even liked it.
So there's this, so there's like the aftermath chapter or section. And then, so it's Mike Litwin of the Baltimore Sun said simply, quote, "If you're not surprised that Braveheart is now and forever the official very best flick of 1995, it can only mean one thing. You haven't seen the movie," end quote.
I don't believe that.
It's like, you know, they released it 3 times in the theaters. No one cared to see it. Like it felt like there was like a general sense of apathy towards it. But I guess like maybe it benefited from the fact that there was a lack of passion for these other nominees, even though it like Babe became a hit because of word of mouth. Like people really love that movie, but maybe they think like A Talking Pig is too slight to win Best Picture.
I don't think
and it's
Babe
like a
had
G-rated film.
right.
I think it's the last G-rated film to be nominated for Best Picture.
And
then like Apollo 13 and Ability, I think like Apollo 13 was expected to, and like I remember reading that in like newspapers and like all the predictions stories. And like Sense and Sensibility obviously won the Globe, and it's like a period piece. So I don't know. I mean, I like maybe like they felt they were like those were like too safe, and like they don't actually love those movies either.
I mean, that's what I was going to say. I think that if you look at the way the nominations shook out, Apollo 13 was not a loved movie. It had 9 nominations, but it did not get Tom Hanks for Best Actor, which is a surprise. It did not get Ron Howard for Best Director. And I think that shows that Ron Howard wasn't taken seriously as a time as a director. He kind of had like the baby Spielberg vibes off of him, where it was like, oh, we don't really take like kind of color purplish time Spielberg, where it's like, we're not going to nominate him because it's Steven Spielberg, basically, right? Like he's a blockbuster guy, not a movie guy.
Well, also in Inside Oscar, they like one of the theories it's because of the fact that he is formerly known as Opie,
right?
So you know,
a child star.
The Andy Griffith Show.
And the other thing I think is there was fatigue on Hanks, even though the movie was a hit and he's the biggest star in the world. Like he won 2 Oscars in a row. It just is like, go away, Tom Hanks. You know what I mean? Like it's like a very good performance, but people are just kind of over it. And I think that hurt Apollo 13 and Sense and Sensibility for whatever reason. Maybe it was too British or something, you know?
Yeah, or maybe it's just like it's like about women.
Also that, which we've learned they don't like.
And they're not hookers.
Right. So that's a tough beat.
But it's interesting because like, you know, even with like that Opie theory for Ron Howard, like he was an actor. Mel Gibson is also an actor, but I guess it's different because he was like a huge star and like he was still acting.
So Mel Gibson was a star and actually really liked, you know, that's the other thing is like
this time.
At this time, not just by the public, but I mean like Hollywood, like Jodie Foster, Julie Roberts, like people love Mel Gibson. Like he had that like a, you know, I think now it's not obviously has real like a very different a charm and an energy that people liked. You know what I mean? Like he felt like a real genuine article, I guess, at the time, and that was part of it too. The other movies I wrote down. So Joyce, if we were doing 10, I guess as we usually do here, Dead Man Walking, Leaving Las Vegas, absolutely in to me. Mm-hmm. If we keep these 5, even though I would say Braveheart doesn't need to be in here. Braveheart, Apollo 13, Babe, Il Postino, and Sense Sensibility. Then I would throw Dead Man Walking and Leaving Las Vegas. That's 6 and 7. Then I would say, based on the nominations / my preferences, I would say Toy Story should probably have been in here.
Toy Story should definitely be in there.
Even though it's animated, obviously, I think that would have been in there if there were 10. So now we're got 6, 7, 8. The ninth one I would say is maybe Usual Suspects, though it only got 2 nominations. It won both. I think there was an affinity for the movie itself, and it would have been like a coda situation where it just gets 3 nominations. That's about it.
And it wouldn't win.
It wouldn't win, no. And then the other one I wrote down was Bridges of Madison County, actually, and Waiting to Exhale. But Bridges of Madison County, I think, would have probably gotten into.
I kind of like Bridges of Madison County, even though I don't think you would ever think of Meryl Streep and Clint Eastwood as like a romantic couple.
So it's a huge book. I remember being incredibly popular. Obviously, I think it sold like 6 million copies or something. It was when people read books, and it was a big deal. And the movie was the type of movie that usually would just be like, this is bad, but I think it was actually pretty good, and people did like it. So that's my 10 would have been the 5 we got: Dead Man Walking, Leaving Las Vegas, Usual Suspects, Bridges of Madison County, and Toy Story.
Yeah, I don't know what I would put for the 5th one. Like maybe Casino, but I don't even know if like they didn't care about Casino.
So I left, if it was my personal preference, Casino, Heat, and Get Shorty, and Seven would all be nominated. I mean, those are all-time movies by some of the greatest filmmakers of the last like 30, 40 years.
Like they only nominated Sharon.
Right. It's a weird, Heat doesn't, did he get any nominations?
No.
So like that's absolutely bananas, right? Like Heat is like not just one of the most influential movies of like the last 25, 30 years, but is also an amazing movie. No nominations. So like I would throw Heat in here for sure. And Casino, I think, is like it says in the Inside Oscar, it was a letdown in terms of a lot of people was like Goodfellas 2. Like that was another David Spade joke. Casino it when it was called Goodfellas. And it's incredibly violent, but it does have it's a fun Scorsese movie to me because based on where it is in his filmography, it definitely like is a prelude to the stuff and the style and the tone that he has done much more in like The Irishman. In Wolf of Wall Street and Departed, where it's like a lot of noise and a lot of like the way the music is cut, just very jarring cuts and stuff with his soundtrack choices. But I really like Casino. I think it's a great movie. And then the other ones I wrote down that maybe would be in here would be like Nixon. I was not a big fan. I don't think
like any, like, did people actually like Nixon? I don't know.
No, I don't know. Again, another like off JFK.
Another like, controversial Oliver Stone.
Great quote from Oliver Stone. I'm going to read it to you. I sent it to you last night. With regard to Apollo 13. Then there was the director Oliver Stone, who lambasted the film as, quote, an homage to bullshit patriotism. The fucking critics. They all loved it. I can't make movies anymore, I guess. Could have saved that quote. He could have saved that quote for after Snowden, maybe. Then he can't make movies anymore. I think that was his last one. So, I mean, like we said, if you were giving an Oscar here for Best Picture, you would say Sensibility of the 5 nominees, or would you go Babe?
I would probably give it to Sense and Sensibility.
I think I would too.
I'm not like, maybe I'm just like an Oscar voter back then. Like I don't really like care about any of these that much. Like I don't even know how I would rank them. I would rank Braveheart last.
I would rank Braveheart last, and I might put Apollo 13 first.
Yeah, like Apollo 13 is a great movie. It's just like not one of my favorites, and like I think I've only seen it once as well. Right. I don't revisit it, but it was a great movie. Here's the thing. Do you think if Ron Howard had not been snubbed in directing, would Apollo 13 have won? Because this is also back when there was a lot strong linkage between those two categories. Now we have splits all the time.
Right. I think that they didn't like. I don't think it would have won because they just didn't respect the movie. I think they were like, they just even though it had 9 nominations, it was not a movie that the Academy liked for whatever reason. I think they
Yeah, I
were
don't
just
think like
anti
he or
Ron
the movie
Howard.
would have won either. I don't think it would have been a split either,
No.
like either direction. Like I also think like Braveheart is more in the vein of those like epics that they awarded back then.
So I think that's why it won. Is it's an epic. It has broad, even though it had no acting nominees as well.
Yeah.
It had broad crafts appeal. It won. It won sound effects editing. It won cinematography. It won makeup. It was nominated for costumes. It was nominated for editing. You know, it had like a lot going for it, and I think that's what boosted it to victory. Is that the actors this year, especially with the winners we got, none of those movies were Best Picture nominees.
Yeah.
The acting winners. So there was no like support from the actors for any of these movies really. And so the crafts kind of lifted Braveheart, and the Braveheart crafts were more impressive because of the period epicness than the Apollo 13, which was more of an effects movie. I think that's basically
and it couldn't even
happened.
win visual effects. It was only 2 nominees.
Right. Babe won.
And it, lost to Babe.
Will Smith gave that one out, Joyce, wearing a suit that is 4 times too big for himself.
It was like in the vein of the Seinfeld like puffy shirt.
Yeah.
But it was a blazer.
So we did picture here. Director, like we said, Ron Howard and Ang Lee should have been nominated. I think if I was doing this again, if it was my personal 5, I would probably say Ang Lee, Michael Mann, David Fincher. Those 3 for sure. And then probably Tim Robbins and Mike Figgis, though I would also argue the other names I wrote down were Bryan Singer for Usual Suspects, obviously cursed now, but like great movie. We were talking about this, I think, on Slack. It incredibly holds up. It is a really good movie. I just love it.
Yeah, I love Usual Suspects. I would probably like, I think Il Postino is a good movie. I watched that like years later. Like I found like a stream, or not a stream, but just like I found it online somehow. But I would not have nominated Michael Radford, but that was just kind of like the Harvey Miramax machine.
Right, because the lead actor, Massimo Troisi, died, obviously. The movie came out a year before in Italy, and then it was so it came out now 2 years. This Oscars is like 2 years after it came out, and the actor had died, so it was a posthumous nomination. There was a lot of embrace of the movie and warmth of the movie. It definitely is in that Miramax 90s Miramax like full Monty type, like crowd pleasing indie from a foreign language or international feature. Like it's a prelude to Life is Beautiful, like all those things.
Yeah, and like I'm all for non-English language films being not for Best Picture, but I don't know if I would have, like, I'm fine with it being there, but I don't know if I would have nominated myself. And yeah, obviously he had like the narrative of like this was a passion project for him, and he needed surgery, heart surgery, or I think it's a heart transplant.
Right? Yeah, he did. The actor needed a heart transplant, and then
then he was like, "No, I'm gonna finish the movie and then get it," and then he died right after wrapping.
Right. Pretty sad.
Yeah, so that's one of the few posthumous acting nominations. Yeah.
Other directors I wrote down, none of these had any chance, but I would say all 4 of these are worth talking about to me. Spike Lee, Clockers. Clockers is a great movie, like an awesome Spike Lee movie. Really holds up. I watched it again like 2 years ago, I guess, when The Five Bloods was in the awards race. I wanted to watch it. Great movie. Catherine Bigelow for Strange Days, we talked about. I just love that movie. I think that's actually better than Point Break, which was like her breakout movie. I think it's just really good. Barry Sonnenfeld for Get Shorty. Well, Get Shorty is great. I don't understand why they rejected it. I guess it's because it's a comedy, and it's also like pretty vicious about Hollywood. It's a pretty good Hollywood satire that holds up incredibly well. And I'd imagine,
like no John Travolta either.
And I'd imagine that the fact that it's so mean-spirited about people in Hollywood with the depths of their cravenness and vanity and narcissism probably was not like the tone a lot of voters maybe were looking for.
They're a very sensitive group, Hollywood.
And then Forrest Whitaker for Waiting to Exhale. Again, we talked about Jesse Jackson boycotting this, but for Waiting to Exhale was like a big deal. And, I think it's a really good movie. I don't think Forrest Whitaker would have gotten nominated, but I think he should have been in the conversation at the very least.
Yeah. I mean, this 5 is like half okay.
Yeah, like we said, I mean, like, I think it's okay. I wouldn't have nominated Chris Noonan for Babe, but I understand why he got nominated. But, whatever. Should we go to the acting awards, Joyce?
Acting, best actor.
So best actor, Nicolas Cage wins for Leaving Las Vegas. This is Nicolas Cage in his premium era, because we've got The Rock coming months after this, and he looks resplendent with his hair, and he's with Patty Arquette, who's his wife. Just a great time to be Nicolas Cage. And his speech, he swept. Of all the winners, I would say he is probably the one that was most obvious going into the ceremony. He swept through seemingly everything. He won at the Globes, won at the SAG Awards. He was just like, he won critics prizes, really a consensus winner for an actor that was like, people really like, and like is on the rise, right? Like Nick Cage has always been like a weird indie kind of like mainstream indie guy splitting around. And then this is like his,
it's funny because now like he doesn't have that persona.
No.
Like I love Nick Cage,
right.
But like some of my friends like have no idea he's an Oscar winner.
Right.
And like I was like, no, he went for Leaving Las Vegas.
Now, Leaving Las Vegas, not a rewatchable movie, Joyce. I think I've seen it once, but
I liked it, and no, I have not rewatched it. Maybe I've only seen it once as well.
It's just a dark. It's very dark and depressing.
It's very dark.
Quite good.
Yeah, very good. And Nick in his speech gives a shout out to John O'Brien, who died via gunshot like weeks after he sold the rights. This is his like semi-autobiographical novel. So yeah, he sold the rights to make the film, and sadly committed suicide.
Yeah,
weeks later. So
other nominees here: Richard Dreyfuss for Mr. Holland's Opus, a very weepy kind of mainstream movie where Richard Dreyfuss is like,
maybe that would have been like the 10th nominee.
It could have been. It didn't really do any other nominations though, I don't think, or not a lot, but it's very fine movie.
I think I got a couple more at the Globes.
Yeah,
maybe.
Totally fine movie, and Richard Dreyfuss like making good on like his previous, Oscar.
Goodbye Girl.
Yeah. Anthony Hopkins as Nixon. Sure. I mean, like, not a big fan of the movie.
Like Tony, always great.
But he's always great. Sean Penn for Dead Man Walking, which this is like, why did Sean Penn win for Mystic River? This is probably why, because this is an easy win. I think it's great that Nicolas Cage won. I still would pick Nicolas Cage, but like any other year, I think Sean Penn wins, and then he doesn't win for Mystic River. Probably Bill Murray does, I would argue. But and then Massimo Troisi for The Postman, a posthumous Oscar nomination. The other people I wrote down, Joyce, no kidding, Tom Hanks for Apollo 13, not nominated. We talked about Robert De Niro and Al Pacino for Heat. I would probably pick Pacino over De Niro. It is an incredible Pacino performance. He is turned all the way up. I love it so much. Just a fabulous performance. Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt for Seven, though I would want to ask you, what do you think? Would Brad Pitt be supporting in Seven?
Well, he was already nominated this year in supporting for 12 Monkeys. So I guess they were not, it wasn't a cottage industry as it is now with campaigning. So I don't know if they would have been as savvy. Like, would they have cared if he was like a double contender for supporting back then?
I don't know. Yeah. But Morgan Freeman, I think, could have gotten nominated here easily for Best Actor. He's so good in Seven. It's a great performance. Yeah. I would say, and then the other one I wrote down was obviously John Travolta in Get Shorty. I still don't understand how he didn't get nominated. Like, it's off Pulp Fiction. It's arguably a better performance, I would say, as blasphemous as that might seem, but it's like Pulp Fiction, like we said, he was not frauded, but it's not necessarily a lead performance in the traditional sense. He's a lead because he's kind of in the other sections. He's very good. But Get Shorty, man, he is full movie star. It is like the John Travolta, it cements the John Travolta comeback. He's so fun. And he was a major contender, and it was like a big snub. Like I said, they just did not like Get Shorty, but that was like a great movie. It still holds up. It's very fun. So I would have put Travolta. I probably would have put Travolta, Pacino, and Hanks in, and kept Cage and Penn if I was doing this.
Yeah, I would nominate Travolta. Like, he also won the Globe in comedies. So yeah, I think they just like didn't care about a lot of movies this year.
No, it's so strange.
I would also do Ian McKellen for Richard III.
Mm-hmm. That was a big deal. Big deal movie.
So that would be my only addition. there. I probably would not nominate Richard or Massimo, even though like I really do enjoy his performance in there.
Yeah.
That movie. But
so while the best actor, maybe we can make some fixes, Joyce, the best actress race here I loved. This is like almost no notes. I think it's like a really great list. So Susan Sarandon wins for Dead Man Walking. Another kind of pretty much expected based on the nominees. I mean, Nicole Kidman had won at the Globes along with Sharon Stone, but Susan was kind of like probably the pickier. The other nominees were Elizabeth Shue for Leaving Las Vegas. Great, like I'm a serious actor nomination, right? Because she was more known for like Adventures in Babysitting, Karate Kid, obviously, and these like kind of light 80s comedies, and like kind of here's an adult role for her. Sharon Stone in Casino, absolutely throwing 100 miles an hour. It's an incredibly good performance. I love her so much in this movie. I love Sharon Stone. It's a totally different flavor for Sharon Stone. She's completely, the thing I love about Sharon Stone, and from Basic Instinct and like even like Total Recall and Quick and the Dead, is she's always like very cool in the idea that you think she's got every angle figured out, right? Like she's very good at that kind of like projecting that, because it seems like that's what she's like in real life, at least.
well, also she presents both score categories.
Yes.
In the ceremony. This is the first year when they split score
Yes.
into drama and comedy, because you know, as to quote myself, Hollywood was pressed about Disney dominating the score
Yes.
category.
Yes.
So they split them, and then they give out one, and then it was like her, was it her and Quincy?
Yes.
Yeah. And they didn't have the envelope for the second one. So then he goes and gets it, and then she's just like vamping at the podium, and it was great in her Gap turtleneck, iconic black Gap turtleneck sweater.
It's amazing. And then in Casino, she's completely like just unmoored, and I love her so much in it. Meryl Streep for Bridges Madison County, sure. I think it's a good Meryl performance, like doing an accent kind of whole thing. And then Emma Thompson for Sense and Sensibility. Watching that Emma Thompson, who wins for screenplay, she doesn't win here. I was reminded of like Phoebe Waller-Bridge. Is Emma Thompson like the prequel to is she the prequel version of Phoebe Waller-Bridge?
Well, her movie didn't win Best Picture.
No.
No, but like the 90s were a great time for Emma Thompson professionally.
Yeah.
So
professionally. Yeah.
Yeah, professionally.
So I love that list of nominees. I think Susan Sarandon is great. We talked about this, I think, the year before. Maybe she had been getting a lot
she lost to Jessica last year.
And we were getting a lot of nominations for her. This was like a great time for her, right? She was nominated for The Client and all these different things. So it felt like we were waiting for Susan Sarandon to get an Oscar, and then she got one.
And it's a great, you know, as a makeup Oscar, I guess, you know, someone who's like overdue. Like this is a great performance and film to win for. Like that's not always the case.
Correct. It's a real movie, real performance. She's really good in it. She goes toe to toe with Sean Penn. It's great stuff.
Again, and she hasn't been nominated since.
No, and another movie that's incredibly tough, a tough beat, right? Like Leave Las Vegas style. The actors I wrote down, though, like I said, it would be tough to crack this 5. I guess I would say if I was going to knock someone out, it would probably be Meryl to me, because I think Elizabeth Shue and Sharon Stone are really good. Obviously Nicole Kidman for To Die For. Love the movie, love the performance. She's so good in it. It was a serious contender, right? She won at the Golden Globes and the Critics' Choice Awards, but not nominated. So definitely a little bit of a snub there, I feel like. And then the other ones I wrote down, none of these would have any shot, but just to say them. Alicia Silverstone in Clueless, great performance. A presage of Cameron Diaz and There's Something About Mary to me, where it's like a comedy performance should be taken seriously, and she was great in it. Sandra Bullock for While You're Sleeping, similarly, Joyce, I would say, goes in that. And Angela Bassett for Waiting to Exhale, and Julie Delpy for Before Sunrise. Those are the other 2 I wrote down. But like I said, the list is a good category.
Yeah, it's a good category. I would definitely replace Meryl, who does not need a throwaway nomination.
Correct.
With Nicole. Love that movie. You know, you're not anybody in America unless you're on TV.
Really great. Another movie that was like very prescient of the world.
Yeah. And then, like I said before, I would nominate Julianne Moore. I don't know who I would bump for that. I guess maybe I would just bump Emma, since she's going to win in Screenplay.
Right.
But she is really great in Sense and Sensibility.
She is. So. Supporting actor, Joyce. So Kirst win. Kevin Spacey wins for Usual Suspects. So I will say, at the time, I loved it so much. Love the performance. It's absolutely great. And
it's a great performance.
If we could still separate the art from the artist, it still is a great performance. He's really good in the movie. And his speech is, again, rough. He's like, calls Bryan Singer Kaiser Soze. With all we know now, it just is like boy. Other nominees were James Cromwell for Babe, Ed Harris for Apollo 13, Brad Pitt for 12 Monkeys, and Tim Roth for Rob Roy. The only thing I remember about Rob Roy is that it came out before Braveheart, and Tim Roth dies by getting cut in half from his shoulder down to here, and they show him like kind of like leaning over like this. It's like graphic.
That's why he was nominated.
And that might be why I think he was nominated because, again, this is like Tim Roth ascendancy, right? So he did Reservoir Dogs was great, Pulp Fiction, he's really good, but not going to get nominated. And then here is Rob Roy. People liked he's playing the villain here. It's like a big like villain performance, but I think you were thinking of him as like, oh, we like this guy in these other movies. Let's nominate him now because we have the chance. I don't know about the Brad Pitt in 12 Monkeys performance. It feels like a big stunt to me.
Yeah, it's not one of my faves.
No, and it was nominated, I think, because it was like Brad Pitt goes serious. And again, he had a huge year because he had 7 as well. The people I wrote down here as alternates were, and I would have picked Kevin Spacey here. I don't think you could take he would still win in this category. God bless James Cromwell, but I don't know. The other people I wrote down were Don Cheadle for Devil in a Blue Dress, star-making performance, was a real contender, and then snubbed. So I feel like he should have gotten in. The other people I got down were Val Kilmer for Heat, good performance. Gene Hackman for Get Shorty or Crimson Tide, I would take either one. I think Gene was great. This is a great year for Gene. Kevin Spacey for 7. And then the other one I wrote down was Chris Farley for Tommy Boy.
Well, you would have to choose between Spacey for 7 or Usual Suspects.
Right. So I would still take Usual Suspects, but I think he's quite good in 7.
Yeah, I would choose Usual Suspects as well. I would definitely nominate Don Cheadle. That
really
was
good.
I think he was nominated at SAG, and I think he won LA
for that.
Did. But just scene stealing performance. Yeah, Gene Hackman. Let's just nominate Gene Hackman for everything. Like,
I mean, I would say I would say, like, if I was doing nominations, Pitt and Roth probably get dumped for Cheadle and Hackman. Like, I'm not married to Brad Pitt getting nominated for 12 Monkeys.
No, I don't watch that movie or like rewatch that movie either.
And I would say if you category frauded him in here for 7, I would prefer that. He's great in 7, obviously. It's like an iconic Brad Pitt performance, I think. So, but I think it's probably a lead. So I wouldn't nominate him for this.
Yeah, and then James Cromwell for
great, good performance.
Mm-hmm.
Any other notes on this one, Joyce?
No, I was like having trouble coming up with like other people I would nominate. Because I like most of these, and I don't really have a problem with Brad being in here. It's just like, sure.
I don't have a problem with any of these really, but like I just think I would have liked if there's a tighter list. I think you could have come up. For supporting actress, Mira Sorvino wins for Mighty Aphrodite. Joyce, you'd be shocked to know her speech made me cry like a baby because she's talking about her dad, Paul Sorvino.
Her speech is actually one of the ones that I do rewatch because like when she gives a shout out to her dad, like he just like melts and starts sobbing instantly. Like he's like composed throughout the entire thing.
Yeah.
And then when she's like, when you give me this award, you also honor my father, and then he just collapses.
Weeping. I was weeping. It's great. Not a movie I watched a lot, but I remember liking it at the time.
Yeah. But also the best part of her win is like she like gets up and she first like turns to her mom, and she's dating Quentin Tarantino at the time, and then he just like tries to get in on a kiss with her, and then they have to kiss twice because the first one is like an awkward peck.
Second straight Woody Allen actress in a Woody Allen movie to win this category. Obviously Diane Wiest had won the year before, which we talked about. Other nominees here were Joan Allen for Nixon as Pat Nixon, Kathleen Quinlan for Apollo 13, Mayor Winningham for Georgia, and Kate Winslet for Sense and Sensibility. A lot of very typical, I feel like all of these are like typical 90s Oscar supporting actress performances.
Yeah, well, yeah, I have a hooker. And I mean, Kate won the SAG, so and this is her first nomination. So it's like ascendant Kate Winslet.
Mm-hmm.
And like, I mean, she had her breakthrough with Heavenly Creatures, but it was like her first like big movie. And then you have like a wife role in Kathleen.
Hers is, I remember even at the time being like, how did this get in? Just not it's a lot of her like watching TV being stressed.
Yeah, that I think it's fine. Like Apollo 13 winning ensemble at SAG, like I support like that. It's a massive cast,
right? And
like no one's like bad in it.
The problem with this category is I had a really tough time coming up with anybody else. The people I came up with were, one is a true LOL, and the other one I think you could make a case for. But Rene Russo for Get Shorty, I thought like was legitimately good and like could have got in here. And then Carla Gugino for Showgirls. Actually, it's not even Carla Gugino. Wow, that's hilarious. I said the wrong actress. It's what's her face from Bound? Gina Gershon from Showgirls. Even better. That's what I would put in here. Apologies to both Carla Gugino and Gina Gershon.
Showgirls, I can't say I've seen that recently either. So maybe that's the problem. I don't rewatch a lot of these movies.
Well, none of the Oscar movies. I mean, there's just not that many that are worth like doing. I want to briefly just burn through Screenplay, and then maybe we could just do the ceremony because we've been going at this for a while. We could wrap up here, but the Screenplay winners were Usual Suspects, which was an awesome win, and Sensibility, which is an awesome win. The other nominees were Braveheart for original, Mighty Aphrodite, Nixon, Toy Story. The list of Toy Story writers is unhinged. Joss Whedon, Andrew Stanton, Joel Cohen, but not that Joel Cohen, Alex Sokolow, John Lasseter, Pete Docter, and John Ramft, all nominated for Oscar for this.
Yeah.
I like that Toy Story is nominated. Usual Suspects, I think, is a great winner. Other original screenplays, like I said, like Kicking and Screaming. There's a lot of like indie movies this year, like Kicking and Screaming, or like Brothers McMullen, or even Friday. I could make a case for. Was it not
Before Sunrise?
Which one?
Before Sunrise.
Yeah, sure. And then adapted. We said Sensibility wins. Apollo 13, Babe, Leaving Las Vegas, Il Postino. Not much else here. I would say Clueless, I think you can make a case for, though.
Yeah, I would nominate Clueless. Just, let's make it Jane Austen all the time.
And then for the ceremony itself, just I want to go through a few things. Honorary Oscar goes to Chuck Jones. Robin Williams gives it out. Pretty antic Robin Williams stuff here. They go right from that into John Lasseter getting a special tribute for Toy Story, an a special achievement Oscar. And he brings out Buzz and Woody dolls. And then later in the broadcast, Jim Carrey's presenting Best Cinematography, and he gets the dolls and he reenacts Midnight Cowboy with Buzz and Woody. A really funny bit. Just an incredible Jim Carrey stuff.
Yeah, especially because after John Lasseter brings out the dolls, he just like lays them onto the podium and they look like they're dead like through the entirety of his speech.
Jim Carrey in that, when he has the thing, he goes, he's so cocky. I just love it. This is obviously like a peak Jim Carrey as a movie star moment. And he's like, I didn't get to see it. I've been busy. Nobody even acknowledges him saying that, which just is like, he just doesn't care. That I really enjoyed. This one, I found like a lot of so again, contextualizing this slightly for like the modern shows, which are just bad, right? Like this year's Oscars was rough. This one, you have the honorary Oscar for Chuck Jones and the John Lasseter Award. Those are like good moments. Then later you have, which ones did I really like? Well, the documentary short is just an incredible moment. It's for...
Oh yeah, no, that one, I remember watching that live and it was so incredibly moving. It was One Survivor Remembers.
And the woman is Gerda Weissman Klein.
Gerda Weissman. I remember like that speech because she, like, the director accepts and then she speaks, and it just really puts things in perspective.
She's a Holocaust survivor, and it on the Oscars YouTube as memorable Oscar speech. That's what it says.
It doesn't even say like the win.
Just, it's an incredible moment. It truly is like, wow, I cannot believe we're watching this. And like,
and just her immortal line of like so many who perished in the Holocaust, like won't know the magic of being bored at home, which I think is something we all take for granted. Like I love being bored at home. Like I don't need to go out all the time and do shit. Like yeah. And then she tells them, she thanks them and says, like, you know, when you go home tonight, like paraphrasing here, but you know, basically you should be grateful that like, you know, that you have the freedom, and like that makes you all winners. You know, like you can just go home and enjoy the night at home.
That I love. Kirk Douglas gets an honorary is it the Thalberg Award I think he gets?
No, it's just an honorary Oscar.
Just an honorary Oscar. He had recently had a stroke. So again, while Kirk Douglas has become a contentious, or maybe always was a contentious figure in Hollywood, it's a moving speech, I think, and like his whole family is there, and his wife. It's just like, very touching. And then they also have Christopher Reeve gets a standing ovation for coming out months after he was paralyzed.
And then they cut to Robin Williams, you know, his BFF,
and it's like really moving. So like all of these are like, it's like it's an interesting ceremony because you have these like you said, the Braveheart wins are just like totally whatever. Even at the time, it seems like people are not that enthused by it, and like none of these movies are really well loved at the time, and even now. But like the ceremony itself has these like real killer emotional moments threaded throughout.
And then it also opened with their fashion show for costume design.
I wrote that down too. That was actually really cool. They have
I want them to do this, and it's really helpful to see some of these costumes like out of context of the films too. Like they had models doing it.
Yeah,
it was really like a cool runway.
And I guess I don't know. That's about it, Joyce. Anything else here before we wrap up? I mean, the show is like the reviews are like the Oscars was a showcase for Hollywood's new guard. I believe that was Janet Maslin in the New York Times. Janice Min, who worked at People, now runs I think the Ankler. And worked at Hollywood Reporter. The most egregious crime at the 68th Oscars on March 25th was the relentless elegance and good taste that deprived viewers of genuine grade A snicker fodder. So people did like the show, as it turns out.
Yeah, I thought it was fine. It's not bad, I don't think. And you know, like Whoopi, I thought was okay. She was kind of like forgettable the rest of the night.
I thought so too. She didn't really have much to do after the monologue, and like totally fine.
I just want to talk about the score split again.
Yes,
because
like that, and we'll wrap up.
They did that because people were upset that like, you know, the Disney Renaissance era was dominating score, so they split it into dramatic score and comedy or musical score. Only lasted for 4 years, and so they had this year. The category presented by Sharon Stone and Quincy Jones. So the Postman, Il Postino, won dramatic score, and Pocahontas, Disney film, won the comedy musical score. And this just like reminds me of, you know, popular film. It's like the things we want to win and the things we deem are more important are not winning.
Correct.
So we're gonna, or like they're not making money and people are not going to see these or like supporting these like films or whatever. So we're gonna create this like offshoot so you guys can hang out here and like still be celebrated. But like the real category is dramatic score.
Correct.
And then the best part is after Pocahontas wins this, like Disney just like falls off the cliff. Like Disney Renaissance era is basically over. Like Pixar films have won score like Up and Soul, but not like Disney animation, you know. So yeah.
And the funny thing is, again, looking at this, they got the wrong one. No offense to Pocahontas, but like Toy Story score and Randy Newman, You Got a Friend in Me are like iconic, legendary song and score. And I think Colors of the Wind not as legendary. Sorry to Pocahontas fans.
I remember singing Colors of the Wind in chorus in school.
I mean, it was a big deal, but I just think like You've Got a Friend in Me, if you were doing this now, like You've Got a Friend in Me would win, and Pocahontas.
Well, I think that's also because of the sequels and the way they just like repurpose it. But I think the Colors of the Wind win at the time makes sense because that was also the kind of ballads they were going for.
Right.
You know.
So. All right, Joyce, this is fun. That's it. This is the Oscars Playback. We'll talk to you soon. We'll figure out. We don't know which one we're going to do next. I have not thought about it, but we'll come up.
We have to finish the 90s.
Yeah, so. We'll figure which 90s one haven't we done? 90.
We haven't done Emma Thompson's first win because she gets presented her Oscar again by Anthony Hopkins, who
Correct.
Smiles when he sees her name in the envelope. So lovely moment.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, we'll come up.
We haven't done Gene Hackman's win, so
yeah, we got to do that. Maybe we'll do that one next time.
That was the same year.
Yeah. All right. Bye, Joyce.